I'm ready to do another watercolor paper comparison. I wrote to some companies and had them send me some sample papers, and I'm very, very thankful to them for sending me some. I have some Strathmore hot press, which I am not going to test in this video. I'll wait for another video, a hot press video for that one. But I am going to look at their cold press, 140 pound. I am also going to look at Legion Stonehenge Aqua, which I've been very anxious to try. And I'm going to look at the cold press in this one as well. So I'm going to do these two, and I am going to add in the Fabriano. It's the newer version of Fabriano. It's the one that I haven't been very fond of, but I want to give it one more try. This is Fabriano. This will be the Strathmore, and this is the Stonehenge. So I've drawn just a simple oak leaf on each one of these, and I'm going to paint these, and we're going to see how they turn out. I have no idea how they will turn out. I have not used the Stonehenge, and I have not used the, oh, I already got it messed up. I have not used the Strathmore. So, so there, we'll give it a try. I have no idea what's going to go on. So I've got my paints laid out. For this video, I'm going to be using Sodalite Genuine from Daniel Smith, Undersea Green from Daniel Smith, Translucent Orange from Schminke, Lemon Yellow from Schminke, New Gamboge from Daniel Smith, Quinacridone Deep Gold from Daniel Smith, and Quinacridone Red from Daniel Smith. Okay, I'm going to start by just doing a really light layer of yellow on each of these. This is the Strathmore. So far, so good. The paper feels a little coarse. Well, of course it feels coarse because it's cold press, but it feels a little different than the Arches cold press 140 pound or the 300 pound, either one, that I have been used to using. I don't know, it's not different necessarily in a bad way, it's just not the same. I'm going to put the veins in next. The veins on the picture that I looked at for this leaf are very yellow, and not yellow, they're very red. So I'm going to put the veins in, the heavy veins anyway, and I'm going to see how, once that's dry, how it actually holds under subsequent washes. And that's really an important thing for, well, it depends on how you paint, of course, but if you paint with subsequent washes, then you're going to need it to hold something underneath. Okay, that was the Strathmore. I'll put that aside. Here is the Fabriano. I don't know how I got black paint. What the heck? I got black paint on. Where is that coming from? But this is all just totally, all this came from me doing the couple of videos back when I first did my, well, I did my second paper comparison. When I really started looking at Arches and not thinking it was, well, like one of my viewers said, the Holy Grail. That's a good way to put it. A lot of people think it is, and I thought it was. And then, you know, things didn't really, I didn't like certain things, you know, the way something turned out. And I'm really starting to see that it is a function of paper makes such a huge difference, much more of a difference than, I mean, if you don't think about it, you think, oh, well, paper, you know, paper's paper. Heck, I could even use printer paper or something like that, but it's pretty huge. Ooh, this one, I like I like the texture of this one, the way it feels on my finger there as it's touching. It's kind of got a smoother texture, and I am liking, because it's a little bit smoother, I'm liking the way my brush is flowing over the top of it. If I didn't know that, I have to admit, so many people have said such wonderful things about this Stonehenge paper that I'm a little bit biased, but I won't allow that to interfere in this. I'm going to make sure that I conduct this experiment with the utmost integrity. But that being said, I'm liking this on this first coat. I like the way the paint goes on. I like the way the brush goes across the paper. And I like the feel of it on my little finger there as it's touching, running across. Okay, there I've got a first coat, and my hairdryer is broken, so I am going to have to just set these aside and wait, and of course for you it'll just be a few seconds, well, like a half a second. Okay, I've got my papers dried now. All of them buckled a little bit. This Stonehenge buckled the least. Now remember, this paper has not been stretched. It has not had any water on it until this, so that's how I paint, and so that's how I want to test these things. If you like to stretch your paper, you should give it a try and see how it acts with stretched paper. The veins in this were quite red, so I'm going to put some red in there, and I think I'm going to put a touch of this my blue in here, and that's bringing it to a brown. Let's see, go a little bit more red in there. That's okay, that's getting close. Okay, I'm going to take my little brush. This is a fairly thick mix. This is the Fabriano paper. Okay, my 3 paintings are dry, and I am going to just start with a random one. I'll start with the Strathmore. I'm going to take a larger brush. So, and the reason I'm doing that is so that I don't have to touch the paper more while I'm wetting it down. I'm going to wet the entire thing, and I'm going to try to touch it as little as possible to keep the paint intact. And I'll do it the same on each of the paintings. Okay, and we've got it wet down, and I got kind of a lot of paint in a few areas, a lot of water in a few areas. So I'm just going to go in and I'm going to touch, I've got some puddle areas over here. And I'm just going to touch it and pull up any massive puddles. Okay, now I'm just going to put some color in. I'm going to start with some more yellow. And on my picture there was, most of the yellow was kind of in the center of the leaf, so that I'm just going to kind of go with that. I could make it however I wanted, seeing leaves are very individual. And I'm just, I want that water on there because I want this paint to move. So I think I'll take a little bit of my, I don't remember what this was anymore, gamboge, new gamboge, and just touch some around here. I want a fair amount of paint. I don't want to keep doing this coat after coat, so I'm counting on that water to pull it through. Okay, I'm going to put some of my translucent orange on. Make sure I've got the little tip of the leaf and all of the points present and accounted for. Ooh, there's a puddle of water there. I'll have to come back and pick that up. Oh, that is really red. That is the wrong color. I'll go with a little bit of the... Oh, look at that. I love it when paint does that. Look at how it just fingers out like that. Love that. Okay, so I'm just going to do the same thing on each one of these leaves, and I'm going to fast motion this, and you can watch me paint very quickly. Okay, my 3 pictures are dry after the first coat. I've been looking at them a little bit, point a couple things out here. Well, first of all, warping of the paper. This one, I don't know if you can see, try to hold it so you can see. This one is the one that warped the most. These are completely dry and it's warped the most. This one, this was the Fabriano. This one's Strathmore. It warped the second most, but really all not that much considering how much water I put on there. And this one, the Stonehenge, other than just the whole paper warping, there aren't buckles where the water was. I can't see any buckles there at all. So for that test, the Stonehenge came out on top. A couple other things as far as just brightness of color, ever so slightly the Stonehenge has it as far as holding color. However, I could have put the color on heavier, so I don't think we can call that one for Stonehenge. The as far as holding the lines, if you wash again, the Stonehenge looks to me like it did the worst at that. However, again, it's not a real significant amount, and it could have just been how I put the paint on. So that's still kind of up in the air too. Okay, I'm going to give them another coat and see if I can't brighten up that color. Okay, it's been a couple days since I thought that I finished this video. What I have done is I took a small brush and I did a little bit of outlining just to see, just some lines, just to see how the papers would take detail. I want to talk about this one first. The Fabriano is a paper that it's hard to describe the texture of this. And this, I believe, is the new Fabriano, not the one that everybody loved and is longing for again. This one is a cold press, 140 pound cold press, and it has got a texture on it that it's kind of hard to describe the texture, but I guess I would say it's rough, and they're all rough because they're cold pressed, but the Fabriano has a roughness a little bit like sandpaper. And so when I went to do details, that roughness kind of, it stopped me from doing the fine details. The marks are wide and coarse, and they're not defined. And so I think that in this test, the Fabriano is number 3. It's definitely number 3. The other thing that it does, it even though the colors are all there that I put in, you saw me put the colors in, there isn't a lot of vibrancy. They've kind of dulled out. So a little bit on the muddy side. So the Fabriano comes in last. Now I've got the Strathmore and the Stonehenge. This is Strathmore, and the Stonehenge won't stand up here. So the Strathmore took the lines well. It held them nicely. A little bit sloppy in some spots. And the Stonehenge, it was very nice working on the Stonehenge. Now this is not a good brush, and so I was not able to really achieve any nice lines. I'm not in my studio, and this is the only small brush I have. So I wasn't able to really do it, but I could tell that if I had a good brush with me right now, details on the Stonehenge would be very nice and quite adequate on the Strathmore. As far as how vivid the colors are, I think the Stonehenge has it a little bit over the Strathmore. As I've been looking at this in different light, I kind of scrunch my eyes up and look at these, I see more vividness, more clear color in the Stonehenge than in the Strathmore. But again, so close. So if you are, wanting to save pennies, if you're able to locate some Strathmore and have a tablet of it or some paper on hand, you can really do some really nice paintings on it. The Stonehenge Aqua, this is, I ripped part of the tag off there, but it's a 140 pound cold press. The Strathmore is, let me see if I can get here. This is the Strathmore that I was sent by the company. Thank you very much for sending me this and allowing me to do a demo on it. I'm actually kind of surprised. I really didn't expect the Strathmore to be as nice as it is. So, there you go. There's my video. I hope this helped. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.